Hi, thanks for joining us for our Google Hangout on air with YouthBuild. I'm Kat Cheney, the Special Projects Editor at NationSwell, and today I'm joined by Dorothy Stoneman, the founder and CEO of YouthBuild USA, Jamil Alexander, the YouthBuild Alumni Council President, and Filomena Chavez, a student who's currently serving in the Just to Start YouthBuild program in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Thank you all so much for joining us to talk about YouthBuild.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So we'll start with the beginning. Dorothy, I know YouthBuild started in Harlem, where you were based. I believe you spent 20 years there and worked as an educator in Harlem. Before we talk about YouthBuild's growth across the country, it's now in nearly every state. Can you talk about why you started YouthBuild?
Sure. I had joined the civil rights movement 50 years ago this summer, and so I started by starting preschool for children who had missed kindergarten. And then, fast forward, I became a teacher, I became the director of a preschool, a Head Start, etc. But what was most prominent was that the teenagers were dying. They were on the streets. They had nothing to do. Nobody was paying any attention to them. So I asked a group of teenagers, some of whom had been my first grade students earlier, what they would like to do to improve the community. And they said, look, we want to fix everything in the community. We've got 600 abandoned buildings here in East Harlem. We got teenagers standing on the corners doing nothing or dealing drugs to survive. We've got homeless people in the streets. We want to fix those abandoned buildings and create housing for the homeless people in our neighborhoods. So I said, okay, let's try and do it. My job is to try and bring you the resources so that we can fulfill your vision of how much better your community would be. And so we began in '78. It took 5 years to rebuild the first 10-unit tenement building, because at first nobody believed that East Harlem teenagers could do that job. But we brought in good supervisors. They were determined to do it. We completed it. And then we began to replicate around New York City. The young people, our fundamental principle is if you ask young people what needs to be changed, if we would provide you with the resources, they have the best ideas and they have the strongest will.
So it really was bottom up in the way this was formed and
totally
shaped. And I think one of the unique things about YouthBuild is it doesn't just address one challenge. It addresses a number of challenges at once, and you just outlined some of them. Young people out of work, jobs that can't be filled, lack of affordable housing, and in communities across the country, you guys are addressing each of those challenges at once.
Plus education, right? Because the young people who come into YouthBuild are the ones who left high school without a diploma because it wasn't working for them or they had crucial family issues that pulled them out.
Now, speaking of Filomena, we talked for a little bit, and you shared the fact that you weren't getting much out of high school and actually decided to drop out of high school and now are fulfilled in a whole new way through the YouthBuild program. So can you tell us a bit about your story and what led you to YouthBuild and what your life is like now?
Before YouthBuild, I was doing nothing. When I was in school, I really wasn't going as much. I was skipping a lot or not showing up at all. I tried to go back, but I just didn't like the high school environment that I was in. I didn't like the teachers. I didn't like my peers. I just wasn't fitting in. So 5 years later, I had heard about the program, but I just stumbled upon it because my brother was working down the street. And I just came in and I applied, and then we had the interviews with the teachers and staff, and I made it into mental toughness. Mental toughness is basically when we get to know each other, when we get to know if we really are committed into getting into the program. And that's like a whole month of us getting to know each other.
So you're going through mental toughness right now?
No, I did it in October.
That was the start.
Yep, that was the beginning. And I showed up every day, and I was committed into doing it. To me, it was my last chance because I'm 24 years old now, and I don't know. I just love how it was.
Now,
and,
go ahead.
Yeah, now I'm a year into it. I have one more year to go, and it's not just school; it's also work.
Yep.
I'm giving back to my community as well, while working towards my education, completing it.
That's great. Congratulations. So my understanding is the balance is about half and half in terms of time in the community and working to build, affordable housing, for example, and improve the community, and then time to, improve your own situation and work toward your education. Jamil, can you talk about your experience with YouthBuild and that balance, what your day-to-day was like, and sort of the balance between serving your community and working toward your education?
Yeah, thank you first, Kat and NationSwell. I appreciate this opportunity, and yeah, when it was all said and done, I got to think back a little bit. I'm 10 years, a little 10 years plus removed from the program, but I always kind of say, youth build, a life of service. I realized it, and it was a balance of, going to the work site, going into the community, and really, we call it rebuilding our lives while rebuilding our communities. Working on those affordable affordable housing for low income, whether it be rehabilitating them or just starting from scratch, and the balance of that in school. So to me, Youth Build was Youth Build AmeriCorps here in PA, in York, PA, was definitely I always want to say it was kind of continuing of my life as far as service, because when I was younger, just thinking back now, a little bit older, I think I kind of served the community, but it was in the wrong way, and Youth Build really put me in perspective, and service became more of a leadership development component in a way. Now here I am 10 years removed on a national platform, really using it more of a reform and systematic approach to life in a way where it helped transform my life, and just a greater self of service and just really learning and engaging with others.
Now, I mean, you're really an ambassador at this point in your life, both for YouthBuild and more broadly for the idea of service and the importance of service. So can you talk about the ways that you try and spread this idea of service? When you go out in your community, what do you say to people in terms of the importance of serving?
Good question, Kat. It's not too much of a question. It's more of a service, like, just being active. Service is more of a, listening and acting to a call of response as far as, some unique gifts that we have within ourselves and how can we offer ourselves to be of service. And like just thinking back, when Youth Build talked about service, it kind of enlightened me in a way where I remember being at the Codorus Creek, which was right next to the projects, but at the same time, it was a different culture that served the cleaning up of the creek. And when I was out there as a minority black man, people that I saw, they would live in the project, but they would ask me, like, Jamil, what you doing out here? And it became more of an engagement thing in a way where, okay, they're coming into our community doing a service project, but this is our community. And just, it's endless stories. And I know you said, the whole civic engagement piece, I became more enlightened, and the more I became enlightened as far as, you can't vote if you have a felon. I'm obligated, okay, what I've learned through service, I want to be service to others and kind of let them be enlightened and empowered when it's all said and done. So here I am now, whether it be through the Youth Build, National Council of Young Leaders, or even the Aspen Community Forum. It's just a way where I can be of service using my experiences to be have a more opportunities, decrease poverty, increase opportunities as far as the recommendations, but I'll talk about that later.
Well, it's great that you had such a positive experience, and so you're trying to bring others into the movement. It's powerful. I wanted to ask you, Dorothy, about something you said that I thought was really powerful in terms of why YouthBuild works. So you once said that the essence of why YouthBuild works is a combination of the power of love with the power of opportunity. Can you talk a little bit about that and, some examples of that from across the country of what you mean by that combination?
Well, that is the essence of YouthBuild, and we do train teachers and staff that they need to show the young people how much they care about them. Because if you ask young people why did they leave the public schools, most of them will say, because nobody there cared about me. Teachers didn't care. Some of them didn't even know my name. They had too many students, etc. What made a difference at YouthBuild? They always say, because the staff here cared about me more than anyone had ever cared about me before. I don't know why they cared about me that much, but they did, and therefore I began to care about myself. And once I began to care about myself, then I could commit to my future. And once I could commit to my future, then I could care about other people, and then I really wanted to give back. And so now service is my life because they cared about me enough at YouthBuild, and they opened the doors to opportunity and gave me the skills I needed. Now, we deliberately create a culture at YouthBuild which is the opposite of the disrespect, mistreatment, oppression, and neglect that young people have experienced in other institutions and on the streets. So, and we train the staff, you must do the opposite of what the young people have experienced in the past. You must go way out of your way to show them, by doing things they don't expect you to do, that you really care about them. So if they don't show up, you call them. If they have to go to court, you go with them.
That's
if
right.
their mother is in the hospital, you go sit next to them in the hospital. There's enough staff. It's not always the teacher who does that. The teacher has to be in the classroom, but the teacher will call people at home. And so it really is true. And when you talk about the power of love, you liberate the people who want to show their love, who are here because they care, to actually show it. And of course, you know, there's limits on how you can show it, etc. But the main thing is you care.
That's a great answer. And Jamil, it looked like it resonated with you. I saw a little
What? Yes.
in there.
Yes. That's the CEO and founder right there, and it's love, and it replicates. You know, love. You know, replicates heart to heart. You can feel that, and appreciate that, Ms. D.
Now, can you guys talk, Jamil or Philomena? I'm interested in hearing from you about, you know, even there's the power of love, and there's also the power of building. I think one of the neat things about YouthBuild is young people getting out in their communities, you know, rolling their sleeves up and building and making visible improvements. Can you guys talk about some of the projects you've worked on and just give us a sense of what that feels like?
Ladies first, Philomena.
My latest project that we just finished completing a while, like probably a month ago, was in the projects in Chelsea. We fixed up a low-income house. As a girl, I was like the only girl on my work side. For some reason, that's how it is now. I thought, because I was a girl, they put me to do as much. I'm like, oh, I'm the only girl. They'll take it easy on me. No, they had me doing all the power tools. They had me putting up cabinets, tiling. They treated me just like a boy. They didn't, you know, take it easy on me, which I loved, because I'm thinking, you know, well, nothing. But I learned new things that I can take home and actually, like, I could put new tiles on my mom's floor. I learned how to fix a cabinet door, so if something breaks, I can do it. My friend recently learned how to put up bathroom tiles, so it's like, you know, we learn new things every day, which I love.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Thanks for that. That's helpful to get an example. And what about you, Jamil? What for you is really gratifying about building?
The whole building aspect, as far as, you know, starting from scratch, whether it be in a relationship or a service project, you know, getting to know each other, and like I always refer to service, but I was kind of more so going to the fact as far as family, you know, when it was all said and done, that whole approach. You know, I come from a broken home, and, you know, the love and the things that I get from YouthBuild, I created, you know, immediate family, you know, a newlywed with 2 kids. But then at the same time, I find myself, some of the things that I've learned through YouthBuild and through the community, I'm actually, my family is healing. You know, I come from a blended family. You know, I had some issues growing up that kind of, you know, steered me along the wrong path, but it's almost becoming full circle in a way where, so the building relationships and the things that I've learned, being able to utilize them in my personal life, you know, whether it being a father and a husband, and the things that I went through, not putting them through what I went through, but learning how to be a leader. When we talk about leadership development, Ms. D hinted at self, family, and then community. You got to take care of yourself first. You have to heal. So going through that healing process, and then, you know, now I'm at a point now, it's love, you know, just to continue to build those relationships and even mend the ones that were broken. So
lots of ripple effects then.
Yes. Yes.
Can I add something?
Yes.
The YouthBuild students across the country have built 28,000 units of affordable housing in their communities, in 273 communities since 1994, when the first federal money came into local communities for YouthBuild. And so that feeling of pride in having produced something visible, tangible, your neighbors see you building, in the same neighborhood where they used to see you standing idle. Now you've got a hard hat, now you've got a book bag, and now you've built a house, and you can tell your children, I built that house.
Yeah.
That has a profound effect on the identity of the young people who join YouthBuild, coupled with the fact that now they have a diploma and they're heading to college or into the construction industry or some other career that they have gotten the power to choose for themselves through the support they got at YouthBuild. You're right to emphasize building. And then what Jamil's saying about being a father, we're seeing that all across the country. Young people in YouthBuild are becoming extremely good parents. And so when people talk about breaking the cycle of poverty by focusing on pre-kindergarten, we want to add focus on the young parents who are about to raise the next generation in poverty, except that if you give them YouthBuild, they don't raise the next generation in poverty, they raise the next generation who go on to be star students and college graduates.
That's a really good point. Thank you for bringing it up. And, you know, I'm also glad you brought up this point of federal funding and what that has meant to YouthBuild. You know, we're at a really interesting time for national service. I think there's, you know, growing momentum behind this understanding that service is important to our country, in large part thanks to the Franklin Project at the Aspen Institute and all that they're doing to raise awareness about the importance of service and how do we create a culture of service in the United States. At the same time, there's a lot of talk about where that support will come from. You know, there was just a big editorial in the New York Times with it being the 20-year anniversary of AmeriCorps about the need for federal support of these programs. So, Dorothy, if you could just chime in here, you know, what are the challenges that lie ahead, and why would you emphasize it's important that we really create this culture of service in the United States so that more people like Philomena and Jamil who want to serve have the opportunity to do so and the expectation to do so?
It's good for our society, it's good for every individual, it's good for every family and community for people to be actively helping others in thoughtful ways that build a better society. The culture of service should be pervasive throughout. I mean, I grew up as a Girl Scout. I took it in, right, on my honor I pledge to do my duty to God and my country, help other people at all times, etc. The Boy Scouts the same. We need to have a way for adults to express that and for young people, and especially for people who are growing up in low-income communities who feel a passionate desire to improve the conditions that are facing themselves, their peers, their families. That's an energy that needs to be unleashed, and AmeriCorps does have a priority on including low-income people in giving service in their own communities. That often isn't featured. It wasn't named in that New York Times editorial, but it's something that we and the Core Network and Public Allies and other organizations make a point of being sure that that's included in the service culture.
Well, we have great examples of that right here in Jamil and Philomena. So thanks to both of you, and thank you, Dorothy, for joining us and for all that you're doing for your communities and for our country. And for those who are interested in learning more about YouthBuild and also just supporting this big idea of the service here, you can take action on this page. Jamil, did you want to add one last thing before we sign off?
Please, it's just a little quote. Being of service to the world is a joyful expression of oneself. Someone inboxed that to me, like, Jamil, you know, this is epitome of you, and I just wanted to kind of reiterate what Ms. D said, and this whole service movement as far as opportunities for America, whether it be young or old, to kind of learn from each other and grow together.
Couldn't have ended it better myself, so thanks for including that. Well, thank you all, and again, those who want to learn more, go ahead and take action on this page. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Nice talking with you. Bye.
Bye.